I would like to start by welcoming you, all of you participants, to this second edition of the Vanvitelli. Vanvitelli is a unique opportunity of dialogue between Italy and the Netherlands on a number of subjects of common interest. I am pleased, in my quality of President of the Istituto Affari Internazionali, to open this seminar, and I want to thank, first of all, Clingendael, the partner institute of EI, for its collaboration, and also want to thank the two ministers, of course, of Foreign Affairs for their support. Last year, at the first edition of Vanvitelli, we were all physically present in The Hague, in the splendid seat of Clingendael. Unfortunately, this year we've not been able to reciprocate and to have our Dutch colleagues in Rome as we would have liked. The situation is such that does not allow to meet physically, and we have been obliged to organize this meeting on an online platform as we are used to. Now, in a context of a persistent health emergency and of a deep economic recession, which are both affecting our two countries, the seminar today will focus particularly on two challenges that the Netherlands and Italy are facing and will face in the near future as founding members of the European Union. The post-COVID recovery and reconstruction phase, and also the management of migratory flows. Last week, the European Council, thanks in particular to the efforts of the German presidency and the personal engagement of Chancellor Merkel, was able to overcome the resistances of two member states to approve the multi-annual financial framework and to officially launch the next generation EU. So now we are in the process of making NGO operational. And next generation is a unique and innovative common strategy aimed at assisting EU member countries in their efforts towards recovery and reconstructions. It is based on the principle of solidarity, and it is funded with the issuance by the Commission of bonds that are guaranteed by the EU budget. So it's very innovative in this respect, but its success will largely depend on the capabilities of individual governments to design and implement effective national recovery plans consistent with shared objectives defined at the EU level. Now, despite the different amounts of financial resources that will be made available to Italy and the Netherlands, both countries are engaged in the process of defining their priorities, their programs and projects for the reconstruction phase. So today's seminar will offer an opportunity for an exchange of views on how the two countries are proceeding in the preparation of their respective national plans, and more generally, how they are preparing themselves for the reconstruction and recovery phase. But if I may, the next generation EU, if successful, as I sincerely hope, would also open the way to a further discussion on the completion of the reform of the governance of the euro. And I have in mind two particular and special questions. The first one is the reform of the Stability Pact. We know that the Commission will present a proposal by the end of the year. And the second is another subject which has been discussed at length, as the possibility of creating an autonomous budget of the Eurozone, which is a possibility for which the next generation EU has opened some new perspective. And I also know that these two subjects have sometimes provoked differences of opinions between Italy and the Netherlands. So this could be another opportunity to see how we can proceed in this respect. Now, migrations are not at present felt as an emergency. Both our countries have other problems and other priorities in their agendas, but the management of migratory flows will remain in the agenda of the European Union, inevitably, for the very simple reason that so far we have not been able to define an effective and successful common migratory policy, a policy which should be based on an appropriate balance between the need to guarantee a more effective control of our external borders, but at the same time an effective management of legal migration, knowing that migrants are necessary to fulfill the needs of our labor markets and to ensure the sustainability of our welfare system. And in this case, I think that a discussion, a conversation between Italy and the Netherlands could be useful, given the fact that the two countries are in a different geographic position and they are confronted with different challenges with respect to migratory flows. These are my remarks. I would only conclude by expressing my special word of thanks to all those that have accepted our invitation and will participate in the seminar today as discussants. A special thanks, of course, to the two ministers of foreign affairs, Minister Luigi Di Maio of Italy and Minister Steve Blok of the Netherlands, for their active participation. They will open the seminar with their keynote introductory statements in a few minutes. And now I would like to give the floor to my very good friend, Tom De Bruyne. We've been colleagues together in Brussels some time ago. And I am very glad that in his quality as president of Clingendael, he has been very helpful in collaborating in the organization of this seminar. Tom, the floor is yours.
Grazie, Ferdinando. Prima di cominciare, vorrei dire due parole
we begin, I would like to say a couple of words in Italian. May I?
Prego.
Sure.
È una grande gioia per me, Ferdinando,
it is a great joy for me, Ferdinando, to see you again today at this conference. We haven't seen each other for a long time, but indeed we have worked together for many, many years. And it has always been a great pleasure to me. I'm sure that we can continue our cooperation, this time between our two institutes. Thank you so much.
Okay. Excellencies, dear participants, as Ferdinando said, this is the second edition of our dialogue. And last time we met in The Hague, and this year, of course, as you said, we would have loved to come to Rome, but alas. Last year we spoke about our rather different views on migration and on the governance of the euro area, but we also acknowledged that there are many issues in which we are in agreement and could cooperate more often in Brussels, for example, on the Green Deal, trade policy, and on the important topic of the European strategic autonomy. But then unexpectedly, 2020 became a difficult year, also regrettably in regard to Dutch-Italian relations. During the first coronavirus wave, we watched in shock to what happened in Bergamo and other parts of Italy, particularly in the north, that were hit extremely hard. And of course, we also had subsequently our own sufferings and our own lockdown. Now, both our countries are in a serious situation of stress once more, but we know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, with the first vaccines now becoming available. And we were both, the Netherlands and Italy, among the leading countries in the EU to invest in vaccine development and advance purchasing agreements that are now coordinated by the European Commission. The governments of our two countries had different views on how the EU could help countries affected by the pandemic, but in the end, we managed to agree on the very important Corona recovery package, Next Generation EU, that everyone supports. And last week, it was formally adopted by the European Council, as you said, Ferdinando, under the leadership of Angela Merkel. Despite political differences, the Netherlands is firmly committed to European solidarity. And I must add, this is supported by a vast majority of the Dutch public, which is shown in the outcome of a thorough study done recently by the University of Amsterdam. But there are other major challenges and trends in the European political landscape that affect our bilateral relations and our position in the European Union. And as I see it, we could in our dialogues in the future address three major topics of common interest. First of all, after the UK left the European Union, unfortunately, we have witnessed an increase of the influence by the German-Franco tandem. In itself, I think renewed cooperation between France and Germany is a very welcome development. But to prevent erosion of the public support for European policy across the EU, it is important we ensure our own effective input. And here is a challenge for Italy and the Netherlands, the third and the fifth economies of the EU, to cooperate more closely and explore issues of mutual interest. Second, a fundamental issue is how to deal with autocratic tendencies within EU member states and on our doorstep. What can be done to reverse the trend and promote a free and open Europe with respect for democracy and the rule of law, including a free press and an independent judiciary? And third, there are the fundamental geographical and geopolitical shifts that confront us. Both our countries struggle with how to balance our joint desire for more EU strategic autonomy on the one hand, and a strong transatlantic partnership on the other. And how does our relationship with China, Russia, and Turkey fit into this? Dear participants, I conclude. Dutch people deeply regret that at this moment in time we cannot visit your beautiful country with its exceptional culture, landscape, history, and culinary gifts. But we also hope we can help restore trust and cooperation at the political level. By teaming up more and more often in Brussels in the framework of the EU on the issues we were in agreement, we can achieve much more. And my experience as a diplomat, together with Ferdinando, has also taught me to keep in close contact, particularly on the topics where we disagree, and to see what motivates the divide so that we can at least understand each other. This is the second Vanvitelli dialogue, and in this changing EU, I think the dialogue will prove to be an important forum for informal exchange of views between our two countries and governments. Europe only moves forward if we are able to bridge our differences and discuss them frankly in a trusted environment. I wish you all a very fruitful dialogue. Thank you, Ferdinando. Grazie.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your very kind words. But also congratulations for your splendid Italian. I didn't remember that you were so fluent in Italian. Congratulations. And finally, thank you for your suggestions for new subjects for our next editions of the Vanvitelli Dialogue. Now, I think that it's my duty to move to the next phase of the seminar, and I would like to give the floor to the Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Luigi Di Maio.
Thank you very much, dear Minister Bloch, dear staff, dear guests. Sono onorato di aprire i lavori della seconda tavola rotonda strategica intitolata al grande artista olandese Caspar Van Wittel, whom we know as Vanvitelli here in Italy, thanks to the masterpieces he crafted in Italy during his long stay in our country. Il Memorandum of Understanding tra i
The Memorandum of
degli
Understanding
esteri
between foreign
firmato
ministries
nel
that was signed in
2019
2019
mirava a costruire un
aimed to build
rapporto
a more
più
structured
strutturato tra i
relationship
nostri due
between our two
paesi.
countries.
Questa tavola
This
rotonda
annual
annuale è uno
roundtable
degli
is one of the
strumenti
tools
messi a punto
that
da quel
was
memorandum.
developed thanks to that memorandum.
Ringrazio l'Istituto
I
Affari
would like to thank the International
Internazionali
Affairs
e il
Institute
Clingendael
and the
Institute che con il
Clingendael
Ministero degli
Institute,
Affari
which
Esteri
together
e
with
della
the Ministry of
Cooperazione
Foreign Affairs and
Internazionale e
International
il
Cooperation
Ministero
and the Dutch
e
Ministry
della Cooperazione Internazionale e il Ministero degli Affari
of
Esteri
Foreign
olandese
Affairs
hanno realizzato questo
organized this
evento
event,
nonostante le
despite
difficoltà
the
legate alla
organizational
pandemia.
difficulties related to the
Non
COVID
abbiamo potuto
pandemic.
ospitare
We were
questo
not able to
incontro
host this meeting
completamente in
completely
presenza, ma
in
lo
presence, in
svolgimento della tavola
person,
rotonda in
but
modalità ibrida
and holding
ci
this
consente di non
roundtable in
perdere
hybrid
un evento
mode
così
allows us
significativo
not to
per le
miss
nostre
the
relazioni.
opportunity to have such a
L'obiettivo
significant
della
event for our
Vanvitelli è
relations.
di
The
individuare
objective
nuove
of Vanvitelli is to
sinergie,
identify new
sia nel rapporto
synergies,
bilaterale
both
sia nel
in our
rilancio del processo di integrazione
bilateral
europea,
relationships
alla
and
luce
the
del ruolo e delle
relaunching of the European
responsabilità
integration
che
process
spettano a
in
due
light of the
paesi
role and
fondatori dell'Unione
responsibilities
Europea.
that belong to two
Per
founding countries
questo
of the European Union.
abbiamo
For this
deciso di
reason, we
dedicare
have
le due
decided to
sessioni della
devote the two
tavola
sessions of
rotonda
the
a due
roundtable
temi
to
cruciali per
two
il loro
topics that
impatto
are
sull'economia e la
crucial
società
due
dei
to their
nostri
impact on
paesi e
the
dell'Unione
economy and society
Europea.
of our countries and
Next
the EU.
Generation EU
Next Generation EU
e le priorità degli
and
Stati
member
membri e
states' priorities
immigrazione e il
and
mercato del
migration
lavoro.
and the
Si
labor
tratta di
market.
due sfide
These are
epocali
two
con
epochal
cui si
challenges
confronta
facing the
oggi
European
l'Unione
Union
Europea.
today.
Con Next
With
Generation
Next
EU,
Generation
l'Unione
EU, the
Europea ha
European
dato una
Union has given a
risposta
truly
realmente
ambitious
ambiziosa e
and
anticiclica ad una
anti-cyclical
crisi senza
response to an
precedenti che minacciava le
unprecedented
sue
crisis
fondamenta.
that undermined
Nella
its
storia
foundations.
dell'integrazione
In the history of
europea
European
non sono
integration,
mancate
there have
situazioni
been
in cui,
situations in which,
confrontati con
faced
sfide
with
più grandi della
challenges that
dimensione
are greater than
nazionale,
the size of our
abbiamo
countries,
unito le
we have
forze
joined
e siamo
forces
riusciti,
and we have
dove
succeeded.
agendo separatamente
Where if
avremmo fallito.
we had acted
Il
separately,
compromesso
we would have
raggiunto la
failed.
scorsa
The
settimana dal
compromise that
Consiglio
was reached
europeo
last week by the
ha
European
dimostrato
Council
ancora una
showed once
volta che la
again
capacità
that Europe's
dell'Europa di
ability to
pensare
think
in
big
grande di fronte
in the
alla
face of
crisi può
crises
tradursi in
can be
un'azione
translated into
realmente
truly
ambiziosa.
ambitious
Per
action.
fare questo gli
In
Stati
order
membri
to do
devono
this,
trovare una
member
sintesi
states
di
must
posizioni
find a
spesso non
synthesis of
identiche,
stances
ma
that
sempre
are not
basate su
often identical,
responsabilità
but
e
that are
valori
always based on
condivisi.
shared
Questo è
responsibilities
ancora
and
più vero
values.
per due paesi
This
fondatori come
applies ever
Italia e
more
Paesi
for two
Bassi,
founding
che
countries
hanno
such as
scelto di
Italy and the
intraprendere
Netherlands,
insieme
which have
sin dal
chosen to
principio
undertake
la strada
together, right from the very
dell'integrazione
beginning,
europea.
the path of
Oggi
European
come
integration.
allora la sfida è più grande dei
Today, as it
nostri
was the
paesi
case
presi
back then, the
singolarmente.
challenge is bigger
Dobbiamo avanzare
than the
uniti
size
sul
of our
fronte
countries taken
economico, mantenendo
individually.
alta
We must move
l'attenzione sulla
forward together on the
sostenibilità
economic front,
sociale
keeping
e
a high
ambientale
focus
del
on the
nostro
social and
modello di
environmental
sviluppo.
sustainability of our
Questa
development
sfida
model.
va oltre la
This challenge
pandemia,
goes beyond the
poiché
pandemic,
riguarda la
since it
capacità
concerns
dell'Europa di essere un
Europe's
polo
ability to be a
economico e
vital
tecnologico
economic and
vitale nella
technological hub in
competizione
global
globale,
competition,
di proteggere i
to
propri
protect
valori
its
e di
values
assicurare ai
and to
propri cittadini
ensure
un
a
futuro
sustainable and inclusive
sostenibile e
future
inclusivo.
for its citizens.
Next Generation
Next
EU
Generation
non è
EU is
soltanto
not
una risposta
only a
solidale alla crisi
solidarity-based
provocata dalla
response to the
pandemia
crisis caused
Covid,
by the COVID
è anche il
pandemic, it is
frutto di un
also the
confronto
result
su queste sfide
of a
epocali
dialogue on these
che si
epochal
ponevano
challenges,
già
which were
prima della
already present
pandemia
before
e
the pandemic
resteranno attuali
and will
nel
remain
prossimo futuro.
current in the near future.
Questo strumento
This
punta a
tool aims to
realizzare
achieve
priorità
common
comuni per
priorities to
rilanciare
relaunch
l'economia
the
europea e
European economy
rafforzare
and
la nostra
strengthen our
società attraverso
society
la doppia
through
trasformazione
the
verde e
double green
digitale.
and digital transformation.
Molto del successo del
Much
nostro
of the
piano
success of our
comune
common
dipenderà
plan will depend on the
dall'impegno degli Stati
commitment of
membri e dalla
member
loro
states and their
capacità di
ability to
realizzarlo
implement it
concretamente,
concretely,
avendo sempre a mente le
always
prospettive della
bearing in
prossima
mind the
generazione.
perspectives of the
L'Italia,
next
sin
generation.
dal Consiglio europeo dello
Italy,
scorso
since the
luglio, è
European
pronta
Council
a fare
last
la sua
July, is
parte.
ready to do its
Di
part.
più, l'Italia
Also,
è pienamente
Italy is fully
consapevole della
aware of its moral
responsabilità morale
responsibility,
che le deriva per
coming
essere
from
la
the fact
prima
that it will be the
beneficiaria
first
di risorse
beneficiary of
comuni particolarmente
particularly
ingenti.
large
La
common
nostra
resources.
responsabilità verso i
Our
cittadini
responsibility
e
to
le
our citizens
generazioni
and future
future ci
generations
impone un uso
requires us to make a
lungimirante delle
far-sighted use
risorse
of these
mediante un
resources
piano
through a
nazionale di
highly
ripresa e
ambitious
resilienza
national
di grande
recovery and
ambizione.
resilience plan.
Vogliamo
We
contribuire
want
alla
to
ripresa
contribute to the
dell'economia
recovery of the
europea, ma
European
anche
economy, but
rafforzare i
also
nodi che
address
da
the
troppo
issues that have
tempo
been holding
frenano la
back
crescita
national
nazionale, la
growth
nostra
for too long.
competitività e
Our
l'innovazione.
competitiveness and
Abbiamo
innovation.
un'occasione
We
storica
have a historic
per
opportunity to carry out reforms and investments that will enable us to look to the future with confidence and protect the potential of Italy and, together with our partners, the potential of the EU in the world. The dialogue with the European Commission and with our partners remains fundamental, both in the development phase of the plan and also in its implementation. It is from this dialogue that synergies arise in order to implement consistent projects that have a maximum added value for Europe. The second topic we have chosen for today's roundtable, the management of migration flows, is closely related to these challenges. We cannot ignore that a more competitive and authoritative Europe on a global level must first of all relaunch its relations with its neighbors, starting from the southern shore of the Mediterranean. We discussed this with our Euro-Mediterranean partners a few weeks ago when we celebrated virtually the 25th anniversary of the Barcelona Declaration. We shared our vision on the relaunching of the partnership with the southern neighborhood, a strategy that must be supported by adequate financial resources coming from Europe, and that we want to base on sound investment policies to promote an inclusive and sustainable development through the shared management of Mediterranean common goods and concrete resources, environmental, energy, and fish resources of the region. For this reason, in a geographical area that is a crossroads of migration routes, our common management of the migration phenomenon must not be limited to new and more effective policies of asylum and international protection, albeit indispensable. It is in our common interest to ensure mobility in line with the objectives of our partnership, which can respond to shared needs for stability, security, respect for rights and development, and takes into account, on the one hand, the needs of the labor market in the destination countries, and on the other hand, the potential for growth in the countries of origin and transit. We must be able to manage migration flows and not let these flows dictate the European agenda and policies. In this sense, the European Commission has included in its proposals for a new pact on migration the promotion of forms of legal migration and mobility through partnerships with third countries, also in the domain of migration. And this taking into account both the needs of our labor market and the commitment of partner countries to fight illegal immigration flows. We share this holistic approach, which takes into account all dimensions of migration. Our societies are confronted with migration in a context of strong concern, also due to the transformations of the labor market. On the other hand, the digital transition that we want to promote and support can also contribute to the management of migration flows and their adaptation to the needs of the labor market. The digitization of work, if supported by investments, can also create new employment opportunities in the countries of origin, with a positive impact on local communities and the pressure they have to migrate. These considerations highlight how the management of migration must truly be European and must genuinely translate in concrete terms the principles of solidarity and fair sharing of responsibilities among all member states. In conclusion, we are called to govern complex phenomena. The challenge of better and more sustainable growth, migration, a transformation of the labor market, which influence each other and deeply touch the sensitivities of our citizens. We must show that we are up to this responsibility. I'm sure that this Vanvitelli Roundtable will be an opportunity for fruitful discussion on these issues, where our countries sometimes have different sensitivities, but our countries certainly share a stronger interest in finding solutions that are up to the future of Europe. Thank you, and I wish you all the best for your proceedings.
I now give the floor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands, Mr. Steve Blok. Please, Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you, Luigi, for your kind words. And ladies and gentlemen, it's actually a pleasure to be here today in person, and that is important to me because it gives us the opportunity to catch up and have a meaningful conversation face to face. Because it's been a difficult time for everyone. A time when we face many hardships here in Italy in particular. And a time in which social contact is a bare necessity, but keeping a distance is too. So I'd like to tell you something that I've said before, most recently in a Dutch newspaper. I'm going to say it again because I mean it wholeheartedly. I really appreciate our good relationship very much. It's a relationship that goes back many years, one that's built on trust and is expressed in many ways. In the Treaty of Rome that we signed together, in the Schengen Agreement and the Euro, where we were pioneers, in the G20, where we work together, think alike. And in this respect, I would like to thank you, Luigi, for inviting me to join as guest member during the Italian presidency. Netherlands has built track record as constructive participant in previous G20 presidencies, and we stand ready to contribute to discussions during your presidency and to put our shared values into practice. Our relationship is an expression of combined power in NATO, in the UN, as non-permanent members of the Security Council in 2017-2018, where we shared a seat. Our combined power is also in our economic ties. Italy is no stranger to Dutch business. You're our sixth largest trading partner, and before the crisis, our trade relationship was worth over 30 billion euros. And this power is built on shared values like democracy and rule of law, and these shared values are rooted in the shared history of our people. The Dutch painters and artists who traveled to Italy and were inspired by your beautiful country. The Italian migrants who have been coming to the Netherlands for centuries. The numerous students from Italy who are now attending Dutch universities. The Dutch and Italian tourists who explore our countries and cultures every year. The many architects and designers that work and cooperate intensively in both our countries. The shared history of our people is also reflected in shared words. One of them is the word bulldog. It's a word we use and pronounce in exactly the same way. And Professor Mauro Bonazzi, who works for Utrecht University, recently described this Dutch word in an Italian article as land that has been taken out of the sea and made cultivable thanks to the cooperation between people. And in Netherlands, we also use it as a verb, toepolder. It explains our way of working together. And while toepolder is a Dutch expression, it's essentially what the Netherlands and Italy are doing. Pursuing a common goal through collaboration. Sometimes with different interests, but always through constructive discussion. You could say that the older approach is also a shared value. It's about finding ways to work together, even when your perspectives are different. It's a shared value that dates back to the Italian Renaissance and the Dutch Golden Age. But also more recently to the Golden Trio from Basten and Rijkaard at the EU today. Because history has taught us that it's better to talk than to fight. Dutch-Italian cooperation serves as a springboard for mutual success. For Italian football clubs, for example. And for the Dutch players who kickstarted their international careers there. The same goes for all the young talents playing in Italian clubs today. Cooperation doesn't mean that our points of view are sometimes diametrically opposed. Like during the Ajax-Atalanta match last week, not a match that you would like to remember. Although I would like to congratulate you with the outstanding performance in European football. No matter our differences, our shared outlook for the future remains the same. This is also the case in the crisis we are facing. A crisis that has hit hard, particularly in Italy during the first wave, when it caused great suffering and economic hardship. My thoughts are with the victims and their families, and I sincerely hope that we will be able to get this difficult second wave under control. We need to work together to make sure that we emerge stronger from this crisis. And when it comes to plotting the way forward, we do disagree on certain matters, as we've seen this year, but I'm glad that our relationship allows for these differences. That in the end, we always find a way to work out our differences by taking the older approach, by talking to each other, and keeping our common goal in mind. We can build a more effective EU. And by working on national recovery plans, we can modernize our economies, help our countries realize their full economic potential in a sustainable way. We share such a forward-looking view on many other issues. Let me briefly discuss three that are closely related to the crisis we are in. Climate, migration, and strategic autonomy. First on climate. While climate and pandemic are different issues, they need to be tackled together. We need investments to get out of the crisis, to make our environment greener and our economy more resilient. And we must carry out reforms that will make these investments sustainable. And I'd like to compliment you and your commitment to a green transition in your recovery plans and for setting green priorities in the G20 context. And I wish you every success with the G20 presidency and the COP26 co-presidency, where you can count on our full support. On migration, we also share an outlook. Uncontrolled, irregular migration is undesirable for everyone. For Italy, which is dealing with unpredictable primary influx of migrants, but also for the Netherlands, where we receive an influx of 500 asylum seekers a week. But most important, for migrants themselves, who risk their lives making the perilous journey to Europe. In negotiating the migration pact, we must consider these priorities and concerns and stick to our previous commitments. And together we must strive to prevent irregular migration, promote return of irregular migrants, and cooperate with countries of origin and transit. The Commission's new proposal provides structural solutions, including mutually beneficial partnerships with our partners in Africa. In our discussions on this proposal, legal migration will no doubt be an important element. And here too, we must consider different interests, those of the host countries and the migrants, but also the interests of the countries of origin that can't afford to lose essential expertise. So we must identify the sectors that will experience future labor shortages. We must select and prepare migrants for a productive temporary stay in Europe. And we must ensure they can eventually use skills to benefit our home countries. Besides climate and migration, we also share a similar outlook on EU's strategic autonomy. COVID-19 has proven to be a great accelerator of structural geopolitical shifts. So we need to make haste with our efforts to empower the EU. And of course, the EU is already an economic powerhouse. Yet it is increasingly vulnerable. We cannot take anything for granted. Our democracies, open economies, or even our security. We must take our future into our own hands. By converting our economic power into political influence. By taking more responsibility for our own security. And by strengthening our democracies. We also need to tackle crisis management operations in our own backyard. Preferably with partners, but on our own if necessary. And we must be alert to threats outside the traditional scope of defense. For example, dangers of unilateral economic dependence, deployed as weapons by increasingly powerful states that are opposed to our open and free economy and democracy. This is about market access for products, new technologies like 5G, but also energy and raw materials, Nord Stream, rare metals, our access to the North Pole, space. We must continue to strive for an open and free economy and society. For example, by finding a solution for the stalemate in the World Trade Organization. But we mustn't be naive. A number of states are using our openness and freedom against us. Intervention might be necessary when our core interests are threatened. The EU must maintain a strong industrial base going forward. And this is why we support initiatives like the European Raw Materials Alliance. Another good example of an EU-coordinated approach is the 5G cybersecurity toolbox, which is aimed at supply chain diversity and includes restrictions on high-risk suppliers of 5G technology. So, cari amici, let me close with this. I've come here today for our annual bilateral dialogue with the mission to find common ground on important issues like migration and the green recovery. This dialogue is a great opportunity to strengthen our relationship and explore further cooperation. I look back warmly at last year's first edition. This special dialogue is named after Van Wittel and after Vanvitelli, one and the same person. What binds us are people, art, words, our shared values. This year there was a beautiful exhibition at the Rijksmuseum featuring Bernini and Caravaggio, who inspired many Dutch painters and artists. From the Caravaggists in Utrecht to perhaps the Netherlands' most famous painter, Rembrandt. Like the paintings of Caravaggio and Rembrandt, our relationship has the quality of vivacità, liveliness, and fidelity to nature, and of unpolished realism. What you see is what you get. Contrast is an integral part of realism, whether in the football arena or the arena of debate. When I think of contrast, I think of the vivid, true-to-life colors, like Italian azzurro and Dutch orange, both vibrant colors that contrast and complement each other, like a rising orange sun in a brightly blue sky. It might sound poetic, but it is how I see our relationship. True to life, honest, with contrast and common goals. A relationship I have faith in and wish to build on. Thank you.